new opportunities, new market entries. Exploiting, that kind of has a negative connotation. Obviously it means something like taking advantage of, also kind of negative. So how about pouncing on new market ideas? Think of that when you hear exploiting new entries. So what is a new entry? Well, a new entry is one of the essential acts of entrepreneurship. Newness can be good and bad. Entrepreneurial strategy, again, we're learning the lingo here, maximizes the benefits of newness and minimizes its costs. Elements of this include the generation of a new entry opportunity, so a new market opportunity, and the exploitation, the ability to pounce on a new entry opportunity, and then getting that feedback, positive or negative, learning from what happens. You always need a feedback loop. If the new entry is pounced on, exploited, the performance depends on entry strategy. So what was your plan going in? A lot of those set forth in the business plan. Risk reduction strategy, again, explained, I should say, and lined up in the business plan. And the way the firm is organized, again, in the business plan. Can you start to see why I'm having you do a business plan in this class? And the competence of the entrepreneur and the management team, i.e., does the team fit the market opportunity? Also lined up in a business plan. So let's look at the generation of a new entry opportunity. So your resources are your building blocks. That's the skills you have on hand, the time, the cash on hand, the abilities, the skills on hand. So these building blocks combine in various ways to achieve superior performance. So they're valuable if it allows the firm to pursue opportunities, neutralize threats, and offer products and services valued by the customers. So you're going to innovate and create value. Now, it's rare when a few or no competitors have it. So you're going to have to compete here. It's an imitable, I can't talk today, when replicating the bundle is difficult or costly. So there might be something that you want to pursue that you're just not positioned to pursue. So like when you think about when you're making your business plans, hey, we want to do this, but we have no way of making it happen. You need to find a new market opportunity to take advantage of. All right. So let's look at our entrepreneurial resources. The basis for entrepreneurial resource is the knowledge built up over time through experience, idiosyncratic, therefore rare. So you need to build up something that's kind of uniquely you. The entrepreneur's market knowledge is deeper than the knowledge gained from the market research. You just happen to know everything about it. Perhaps you're in real estate and you just have like this niche you can take advantage of. Perhaps it's Section 8 housing within rental programs, that type of thing. If you get some experience in that and you're just better than everybody at it, then you can be a successful entrepreneur in that sector of the real estate market. Entrepreneurs who lack this knowledge are less likely to recognize or create attractive opportunities for the new markets, for the new products or new markets. So that's kind of why you're in school. You're building aptitudes to be able to recognize things in the market that other people do not have. Okay? You're working on your experience right now. Now, if you have something you're really passionate about on top of what you're trying to get this baseline business education, you need to read about it. If you're interested in real estate, you need to be buying books on real estate, listen to the podcast, listen to books on tape. Books on tape, we don't really do any of that more. Audible, whatever it is. You need to be constantly building on that whatever interests you, okay? An entrepreneur's technological knowledge often leads to new markets rather than meeting unmet market needs. So a lot of times, most markets are saturated with suppliers. So you're going to need to look at creating your own market, maybe even creatively destroying another market. So a resource bundle is the basis for your new entry into that market. It's created from the entrepreneur's market and technological knowledge and other resources. There are some entrepreneurs that get by on dumb luck, but they are not as often as you think, okay? So a lot of entrepreneurs build an advantage when it comes to knowledge, and then they know where to pounce on a new opportunity. So what about assessing the attractiveness of new entry opportunity? So the following considerations help an entrepreneur determine if the product or service that they're going to offer is valuable, rare, not easily imitated, and worth pursuing. So information on a new entry, so you need to have what kind of information is going to be going in there. The window of opportunity that may be open or shut, how long is it going to be open, you need to take advantage of it by this day or whatever's going on there. Comfort in making decisions under uncertainty. You can't be an entrepreneur without risk. You are, by definition, a risk taker if you're an entrepreneur. So you must choose between the air of commission and the air of omission. So choose wisely. But doggone it, choose, act. The assessment of a new entry's attractiveness is less about if the opportunity exists and more about the entrepreneur believing they can make it work with their entrepreneurial strategies. So that's what we're doing. We're putting tools in your toolkit in this class to be able to assess opportunities. And then when you see one, chase it. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you, 90 times out of 100, 99 times out of 100, you're going to chase one that doesn't work out. You need to be prepared to do that. Okay? That's being told no 99 times and getting the one yes. It's kind of like sales. You've got to have this backbone to you. And like we talked about in the last chapter, don't be afraid to fail. You're going to lose some. You're going to fail some. The only failure in entrepreneurship is the failure to learn. So make sure you're keeping that perspective. All right. There's a first mover entry strategy. So if you're like the first mover into this new market, you develop a cost advantage. You face less competitive rivalry, at least to start. You can first movers can secure important suppliers and channels of distribution. You kind of a trailblazer in that aspect. And you're better positioned to satisfy your customers if you're willing to listen to them. Again, a part of this course is you're going to have to reach out to some potential customers to get their feedback. And I promise you'll learn something you hadn't even thought about if you do that type of thing. First movers do that. Nimble companies do that. Entrepreneurs do that. You need to gain expertise through participation. All right, as a first mover. First movers do not always prosper. Sometimes they get their tail kicked. That's okay. They keep coming. First mover advantages must outweigh the disadvantages and depend on the stability of the environment in which you're operating. So the market environment that you're operating and you must have the ability to educate your customers on, hey, we solved this problem that you might not even known about. Look at us. Investigate us. Buy from us. And you must be able to put up some barriers to entry. All right, and barriers to imitation that extends the firm's lead time and their life. So people are going to use what you blaze a trail on and then try to quickly catch up to you. First movers are pretty unique about freezing people out. So you always have to be thinking about that. If you don't like thinking, entrepreneurship's not for you. If you like puzzles, it might be for you. All right. Environmental instability, the first mover disadvantages. So performance depends on the fit between the firm's bundle of resources and the external environment. For a good fit, you must determine your key success factors. Environmental changes are likely in emerging industries. They're going to change quick, fast. When new technology comes out, it changes in a hurry. Entrepreneurs face demand and technological uncertainty. So demand uncertainty makes it difficult to estimate future demand. I'll keep that in mind when you're projecting in your potential financials in your business plan, but also don't say, yeah, we're going to sell about $7 billion. Now you need to be realistic. Okay. And with that realistic, what kind of revenue does that give you? All right. And then what kind of cost does that give you? And does that give you any kind of profit? Now, in the short run, I can share a little other video. You don't necessarily have to make a profit. You just have to cover your variable costs, but we'll talk about that later. First movers must often commit to new, unproven technology, resulting in technological uncertainty. You're not sure exactly which direction these things are going to go. Think social media. When it started, that was like MySpace and Facebook, and obviously Facebook's still around. You might be saying, what was MySpace? It was pretty cool, but Facebook beat it. When demand is unstable and technological uncertainty is high, there's risk. First mover disadvantage may outweigh first mover advantages. So sometimes you first move right into a landmine, or sometimes you first move right in the wrong direction, and someone else learns from your failure. See, you can always learn from failure, including your competitors. Changes in demand for technology means the firm must adapt to new environmental conditions, which is difficult due to inertia. That's kind of like the momentum you're heading in one direction. You need to pivot and go the other way. And that's why they call it a pivot in entrepreneurship. You have customers' uncertainty and first mover advantages, disadvantages. The element of newness may mean uncertainty for customers. They don't know if they want to commit to a product or service. They may be uncertain on how to use the product or its benefits. To reduce this uncertainty, entrepreneurs can offer informational advertising and the use of comparison marketing. So you can explain why your new iPhone is better than the Google phone, okay? And so that the customers understand it when they get in the store. They're not confused. It's like, no, I want this camera feature that only this product has. When the product is highly innovative, the customer may lack a frame of reference for processing product information. They just don't know, so you have to find a way to help them know. That's why you're also taking like advertising, marketing, that type of thing. So by delaying entry into a market requiring considerable education, the firm might benefit from the investments of first movers. If there's so much uncertainty, you don't necessarily have to beat the first mover. You need to learn from the first mover. Make them make the first mistake and then follow. Now, first movers can have the advantage when education directs customer preferences to a firm product, when the firm is seen as a quote-unquote founder, and when the firm can erect barriers to entry and imitation, they can enhance their first mover advantage. Now you guys think about lead time as it comes to a first mover. Entry barriers provide a grace period for limited competition. This lead time gets the first mover to prepare for the future competition, but they better be getting feedback in that feedback loop to maintain it. The first mover can extend lead time by using barriers to entry. They can build customer loyalties. They can build in switching costs. That's like when you sign like a year agreement with cable or satellite or something like that. You can't switch very easily. It can protect product uniqueness. You can get patents and different things like that, trademarks. Securing access to important sources of supply and distribution. You can sign exclusive deals for the provision of your product or service. Barriers to entry do reduce competition. If you're the ones with them, you think that's a great idea. If you're the ones without them, you think it's a monopoly. If there's insufficient customer demand, consider allowing a competitor to enter the industry to share the pioneering costs. So sometimes you want to let some people in, maybe get them to make a mistake and learn from them. Risk reduction strategies, good luck with that. For new entry exploitation, a new entry involves considerable risk. Entrepreneurship basically means risk. The choice of market scope ranges from narrow to broad scope strategies depending on the risk targeted for reduction. Narrow scope strategy offers a small product range to a small number of customer groups. You're very vulnerable to risks that the market demand does not materialize or change over time. It doesn't expand. You just get stuck with this tiny market with this very limited product or service. A broad scope strategy takes a kind of a portfolio approach, think like widespread investing, and offers a range of products. So you got a lot of different things you're putting out there. If an new entry involves creation of a new market, a broad scope strategy reduces the major risk of uncertainty over customer preferences because, well, you're in different markets, you have different products. The chances are one of them in there is going to win for you. Imitation strategies. Imitation strategies is another strategy for minimizing risk. You kind of benchmark your competitors. Now, you won't be as innovative, but you can see what they do well and what they don't and kind of follow suit. Imitation is easier than conducting systematic, expensive search. Imitating successful practices helps entrepreneurs develop skills necessary for industry success, and imitation provides organizational legitimacy. Imitation strategies include franchising and Me Too strategy. And Me Too strategy variations may be minor product changes, entering into new markets and delivering a product in a different way. The all-time classic example of this is McDonald's versus Burger King. McDonald's spends millions, tens of millions of dollars figuring out where to locate a McDonald's. Think about that. I mean, they do all this research. They got like GIS maps. They're doing surveys. They're saying, where do we put this McDonald's? And they spend all this money before they even buy the property. Then they buy the property. Then they put up the building. Burger King strategy, imitate McDonald's. They let McDonald's spend tens of millions of dollars figuring out where to put all their McDonald's franchises. And then Burger King draws a circle around that McDonald's and says, let's locate within 3 miles. That feels like a little a little low-key shade, but it's actually kind of genius. Let McDonald's spend all the money to figure out where a hamburger restaurant is, and then go down the street from them, and instead of offering a Big Mac, you offer a Whopper. How about that? That's respect Burger King, the BK. All right, an imitation strategy may reduce R&D costs, just like we were just talking about, reduce customer uncertainty, and provide immediate legitimacy. Oh, if that's a good spot for McDonald's, oh yeah, there's a Burger King. That makes sense. It's wild. It's wild times, man. They've been doing it for years. Managing newness. Creation of a new organization offers some liabilities of newness. Learning new tasks is expensive and takes time. Role responsibility may overlap or have gaps. The informal structure takes time to establish. The entrepreneur can also benefit from the assets of newness. They can have established routines that can be a liability when the firm faces change. So they become that big behemoth and they can't change really quickly because, well, they're used to the routine. Oh, this is the way we do it. remember, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to constantly rethink how you want to do things. Previous practices create momentum, and redirection is difficult to change. So a heightened ability to learn new knowledge is a source of competitive advantage, being nimble. New ventures have strategic advantage over mature companies, particularly in dynamic environments. Dynamic environments means things are changing. There's no market that's really static. Things are always changing, so you have to be willing to change with it. So you have to overhaul your organization, be it big, small, whatever. Be it you and one partner, be it just you, be it you and 3,000 other employees. You have to be able to change with the changing market environment. And that brings us to the close of this brief lecture on Chapter 3, Generating and Exploiting New Entries into Markets. How do you take advantage of it? I'll catch you next chapter.